When you think of the modern era of football, one club always seems to come to mind. FC Barcelona's long-term dominance of La Liga and the Champions League is arguably one of the greatest footholds any sports franchise has ever had on a single sport. Yet despite producing some of the greatest figures in football history and having what many would consider the greatest attacking trio in world football, Football Club Barcelona endured a tired 2016-2017 campaign that saw them have a miserable defeat in the Champions League quarterfinals, followed by a failure to actualize a title defense in La Liga against arch-rivals Real Madrid. Winning the Spanish Super Cup and the Copa del Rey has done little to quell the tension that the majority of Barcelona fans have towards the club's board members and roster. What's worse, Barcelona fans who have all become so accustomed to having a number over Real Madrid are now subject to seeing their arch-rivals achieve goals that were deemed impossible in the modern era. But the question remains, why is FC Barcelona loosening their grip on the domination of club football? In retrospect, Barcelona have only lost the league by 3 points, driving Real Madrid to the final few games of the season, and the chaotic defeat that they suffered against fellow Champions League 2014-2015 finalist Juventus came at a time of uncertainty in Luis Enrique's tenure, which the former Barcelona manager admitted was largely due to his own faults, which he has cited as being as a result of the amount of stress that the FC Barcelona managerial position can impose over the course of several seasons at the helm. If you inspect the issue more deeply, it becomes painfully obvious that the issue is not only rooted in the decisions of the manager, but also as a result of some very questionable decisions made by the FC Barcelona board over the transitional post-Xavi era. The following are 4 concerning issues. Let's start with the tactics. Ever since Luis Enrique switched to the 3-4-3 formation after the 4-0 defeat to PSG, it looked like Barcelona found a temporary strategy for success. However, in the games Barca played a 3-4-3 formation, they were unconvincing in their victories against Atletico and Leganes. They were also crushed by Sporting and Celta, and had a miraculous victory over PSG, but yet also lost embarrassingly to Deportivo. The catalyst for Enrique switching to a 3-4-3 in the first place was Vidal's gruesome ankle injury. Barcelona once again were left without a recognized natural right back, and attempts to convert Sergio Roberto seemed miserably ineffective in the league campaign. Messi's role in the 3-4-3 was to play the tip of the diamond. In such a congested area, opposition teams found it easy to mark and crowd him out. This forced Messi to drop deeper. Even though Messi, who's arguably the greatest figure in club football history, can influence a game from any part of the pitch, the further he is from the opposition box, the less dangerous he becomes. Messi is better off from the right wing where he has more space and time to influence a match. Having a right back who has the work rate to cover for Messi and to overlap him when he moves inside is essential to optimizing Messi's impact. The Barcelona board discarding Dani Alves has clearly impacted their performance, and his telepathic play with Messi often seemed to be the decisive factor for success. Dani Alves went on to demonstrate a similar level of telepathy with Paulo Dybala. Fullbacks were more important than ever in last season's Champions League campaign. The 3-4-3 also puts a lot of pressure on the wingers as they have to stick to the touchline to provide width. Cutting inside so a fullback can overlap the wingers was no longer a possibility for Neymar and Messi in the 3-4-3. Neymar cuts inside with the ball but rarely without it. The same system proved to be problematic for Barcelona's wide players, which was demonstrated against Deportivo, where Denis Suarez and Arda Turan struggled in 1v1 situations without much support from their teammates. Turan and Denis Suarez struggled with no fullbacks to overlap them. When they were unable to best their marker, the opposition easily double marked them and killed the flow of Barcelona's attack. In Enrique's treble-winning season, Barcelona were tremendous on the counterattack, with Neymar and Messi destroying defenses and allowing Suarez to capitalize. Enrique seemed to fix Barcelona's issues off the ball. Barcelona in that season often had a solution for conceding possession. It involved drawing the opposition to their own half, winning the ball back and having Messi, Neymar, and Suarez take care of the rest. In contrast, the 3-4-3 is by design a formation that demands a high line and will need Barcelona to hog the ball as much as they can. With the diamond formation, Barcelona were able to dominate the central areas without trouble, pushing the opposition defense deeper. But with a congested midfield that lacked the quality of the Xavi-Iniesta-Busquets partnership, the opposition was able to press and pull off dangerous turnovers. The second major issue is La Masia's apparent decline in producing ready-made first-team players in abundance. Under Guardiola, a manager who had immense experience in developing youth players in his time prior to managing the first team, the famed academy was the most effective in developing youth players into incredible chess-like system pieces, or sometimes even individual world beaters. However, the production line has stagnated, with Sergi Roberto being the only graduate to really establish himself in the first team since Guardiola's era. Players such as Sergi Samper and Jordi Mbula show some signs of life and could eventually join the first team, but emphasis still needs to be put back into bringing players through the La Masia ranks more abundantly. In contrast, Real Madrid Academy products such as Carvajal, Vasquez, Parejo, Casemiro, Morata, Nacho, Saúl, and Marcos Llorente are hitting their strides in their respective clubs. FC Barcelona's board troubled finances and wage structure is, in my opinion, the most important issue. The FC Barcelona board has mishandled their wage structure and made it increasingly difficult for themselves to pay high-quality players accordingly. Players such as Paco Alcácer and Alex Fidel have made a limited number of appearances last season, yet are being paid over 90,000 and 60,000 euros respectively. Paco Alcácer, for instance, has primarily been a substitute player, yet earns considerably higher than Ivan Rakitic weekly, who is often a starting player. Paco Alcácer earns 15,000 more euros than Rakitic does after taxes. Jeremy Mathieu, who struggled to even make 15 appearances last season, also earns considerably more than Arda Turan, Rakitic, and Ter Stegen. Real Madrid pays crucial squad players such as Marcelo, Casemiro, Isco, Asensio, and Vasquez a modest amount, which allows them to continue playing world-class players like Bale, Ronaldo, Modric, and Ramos well, which in part is why they've been able to keep these players. With a questionable wage structure, FC Barcelona pay the highest salary bill in club football, even besting Manchester United and Chelsea by over 19 million and 23 million euros respectively. You would be hard-pressed to argue against the fact that Real Madrid are getting more bang for their buck, squeezing out every bit of quality with a reasonable wage structure and eliminating over 110 million euros of debt over the course of one season. On the other hand, Barcelona's debt has dramatically increased since 2013, rising to a staggering 287 million euros in debt, which drastically differs from Real Madrid's 15 million euro deficit. Real Madrid's salary to revenue ratio leaves them with more leverage than Barcelona when it comes to player contracts. We have already seen the effects of this as Barcelona struggled to sign Nolito in 2016 due to financial difficulties and a lack of leverage. This was further showcased by Barcelona's desire to pursue Paulinho over Keita or Julian Weigl. Fourth reason is questionable transfers. Barcelona selling off Thiago Alcantara, La Masia graduate and Bayern midfield maestro, is an example of the board's incompetence regarding transfer dealings. After Thiago had signed a contract that required he play 30 minutes of 60% of Barcelona's games, Barcelona were unable to meet this demand, which saw his release clause plummet from 90 million euros to a staggering 18 million euros. Irritated, the midfield maestro left the Catalan capital to join Pep Guardiola's promising Bayern squad in Germany for a very cheap and valuable 25 million euro transfer fee. Barcelona stirred tension with the most fitting replacement for Xavi, a player with similar vision, range of pass, versatility, and ball control. But Barcelona's misleadings with the obvious heir to Xavi's throne was only the first nail in the coffin. Barcelona had several years to remedy the fact that they had waited for Xavi to retire and Iniesta to decline, only to spend a potential 70 million euros with add-ons for Andre Gomes, a player who arguably hadn't fit Enrique's ambitious 3-4-3 system. Barcelona have also failed to find a suitable replacement for Dani Alves. As a natural midfielder, Sergi Roberto, who is currently forced into a fullback position, is limited in his quality in that position. The same Barcelona board had also mistreated their greatest ever fullback, Dani Alves, who was made to feel underappreciated by the club which he called home for several seasons. Alves was quoted in saying about the board, "Was I disrespected by the board of directors before I left the club last summer? Absolutely. That is simply how I feel and you can never tell me any different. Before I went to Juventus, I made a final promise to the board at Barcelona. You're going to miss me. They're going to miss my spirit, my care in the dressing room, and the blood I spilled every time I put the shirt on." In conclusion, Barcelona's tactics, the stunt and growth of La Masia, their troubled finances and wage structure, and their questionable transfer dealings have all led fans to question the board's ambition for the club. New manager Ernesto Valverde faces arguably the toughest transitional period in Barcelona history. He's expected to achieve everything there is to win in club football with an incomplete squad and the lack of necessary financial leverage to chase the primary products to fill those fundamental holes in that squad. Are players such as Neymar and Suarez going to be content with playing for a board that doesn't seem to match their ambition? Is the new manager going to overcome all these problems with a system that utilizes their squad effectively and fills the apparent gaps? Or are the several issues with the club going to rear their head again next season? Are there any short-term solutions to these problems? Please let me know what you think in the comments below. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe to the channel because we are in a crucial summer transfer period. We're going into arguably one of the best European seasons next year, followed by what seems to be a very promising World Cup. And you can expect a bunch of quality content from this channel moving forward. Thank you so much for the support. Your feedback is very much appreciated.